So let's see. So arguments, sometimes shortened as args, also known as parameters, also shortened as params, the lingo, right, of programmers. These are values that are input into a method call. So when you call the method, you need to dial certain numbers. Let's look at another method that, or a method that we already looked at. For example, the drive method. Uh, what are some arguments that you might have to provide for the drive method? Well, you might have to provide the direction that you're driving in, forward or reverse. Do you want to drive in the forward direction, or are you trying to reverse the car? Maybe the speed that you're trying to achieve, right? That could be another parameter for the drive method. So depending on that method, what it does, right, it'll have different inputs. Some methods don't need any input. If I had a start the car method, right, start car, you don't really need to tell the car other than, hey, I want you on, right? It doesn't need more information outside of that. The drive one needs the speed, the direction. The start the car, not so much. So when it doesn't have any arguments, you're just going to use the parentheses anyways and leave them empty. So let's see. So let's take a look at some methods that have no arguments and some with multiple arguments. So if you have no arguments, really simple. It's the method name, the parentheses, nothing in them, end it with a semicolon. Of course, you'd usually have a class name, object name. That's not always the case. Once we learn about static and non-static methods, we'll know the difference between whether you need to put the class name in front or not. For now, just know we're going to be putting something in front of the method. Again, once we get to the demo side of this lesson, this will make a lot more sense. Right now, we're just soaking in, right, the rules. So yeah, method name, parentheses. No arguments means nothing inside the parentheses. If it does have arguments, in the case of print full name, well, print full name needs your first name and your last name. Well, that's going to take multiple arguments. So it's going to be separating those arguments with a comma inside. And notice these arguments are strings, so I have to put them in quotes. All right, so let's see. If it was one argument, well, I just wouldn't have this Johnson. I wouldn't have a comma at all. And it would just say Alice with the quotes, and then outside those quotes, parentheses. You only use a comma if you have multiple arguments. If you have one argument, you stick just the one argument. If you have no arguments, well, you don't put anything inside the parentheses. Another important concept of a method, now that we're talking about input, is the output of the method. So those methods, when you do, whether or not they have input, right, there's two options for your method. It could either return a result value, we call this the output value, or it could return nothing. It depends on what the method is for. So in the case of the drive method, right, I don't really need information coming out of that drive method, right? It's not calculating anything. So that drive method is perfectly fine having no output. In fact, that's what this void does. We're going to go into more detail about the void later on, but just know this drive method returns nothing. But if I did want it to return something, let's see, pull out my text tool here. I would just type in return, let's see, speed, for example. I know speed's not really defined anywhere, so this would give a compiler error. But yeah, sometimes you do want to return value, right? So some methods do give you a value after you execute them. And you can actually set that value equal to a variable if you want to reuse that value later on. So yeah, just a little bit of information on input and output for methods. Some methods do have an output, not all of them. We call that the return value. We're going to learn about the keyword return later on. Just know some methods spit out something, right, when you call them. Not all of them do. A lot of them will do that, though, depending on, how they work. So here's a video, totally optional to watch, explaining a little bit more details on the Java main method. Remember, that's this method right here. The public static void main string args, the really mysterious one that I said your main class has to have. It's the entry point to your program, right? Especially standalone Java programs, those that don't rely on a big system of software, right? Because realistically, when we're building software in a professional production environment, it's not going to be just Java. It's going to be Java plus a JavaScript app plus maybe a Python app. It's going to be a combination of many things put together. But if your program is really simple and it's just using Java, if you want the code to actually run, you need to use this main method. So that's a little bit review, right, of the previous lessons. But if you want to see more information now that we've tackled some more concepts, definitely check out this Java main method explained. What does all that stuff mean? Another video from Coding with John.